guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Rough is alongside me, and as ever on a Thursday, Steven Naismith and Hugh McDonald here with us to chat football. You can like, share and follow us. And follow is the best way ahead now, I'm told, on Facebook. If you hit the follow button, share the stream with your pals. We would really appreciate that. Thank you very much to the thousands and thousands of people joining the football family. It's been absolutely magnificent, the figures we're getting on Facebook Live. And of course, equally so on our YouTube stream as well. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the red button there and see if you can subscribe to our channel as well. And there's lots to come on the YouTube channel. There's more programming that I think you will enjoy. And of course, we're live on Twitter. And just with that in mind, we just released it this morning. If you fancy one-to-ones where you get to know an individual that little bit better, we've just released a one-to-one I had with Aberdeen legend Dougie Bell. He's got a book out called Signed Twice by Fergie, and we kind of a wallow in the old Dons, the cups that they won, the manager, and of course some great memories from Dougie. So well worth it if you get a chance. Lots to talk about on the programme. Of course, the Celtic saga continues. We'll discuss the League Cup semi-finals. We'll discuss protocols that clubs should be following in their dressing rooms. We'll discuss a fallout from FIFA, just warning anyone about the breakaway European Super League if it ever gets off the ground. We'll talk about Ronaldo's record-breaking goals, and of course there's a bit of consternation over the goal that Manchester City scored last night. We'll discuss that as well. So with that in mind, I'm going to start by saying there's a gentleman, and he goes by the name of William Strathern. He's 80 years of age, and he watches the programme regularly. He's a big Rangers fan, and Hannah and all the family just want to wish him the very best. It's coming up on the 2nd of February, but happy birthday to you. Hope you're having a great time, and thank you very much, I have to say, William, for your support of the programme. I mean, that's magnificent, Hugh. 80 years of age, big fan of the programme.
And we don't really need to wish him a happy birthday today, do we? I suppose you're in pretty buoyant spirits at the moment if he's a Rangers fan, William. So, good on him. It's nice to see that somebody my own age is tuning in, Peter. You know, so a contemporary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well done to you, William. And Hannah and all the family would like to wish you the very best. There is, of course, one other man celebrating, Steven Naismith. His birthday, 61 years of age. Roughie played alongside him as well. And of course, you know him only too well. Alex McLeish is 61 today. It's his birthday.
Yep, he's looking great for 61. He's for me somebody that definitely played a big part in mine, giving my Scotland debut and later on back to Scotland manager. So at this moment in time, I'm sure he's enjoying his 61st as well as he can, but that isn't the way he probably normally would like to celebrate it. But 61 going well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Roughie, of course, the great thing about Alex and guys like Alec, but especially Alec, they prolonged your career because they actually put their heads in there for a corner because they knew you weren't going to come for the corner in the first place, Roughie.
Well, the proof in the pudding is that look at big Alex Cooten. You know, that says it all for me. I think if you look at most of my centre halves, they don't look too good. I remember Colin McAdam when he was at us before he went to Rangers. We were playing, I think it was Dumbarton in a Scottish Cup tie. As we all know, the old bog head, the floodlights were absolutely stinking. It was about 5 minutes to go. It was getting darker by the minute. We were winning 1-0. They got a free kick out wide. Big Colin says to me, for heaven's sake, Roughie, he said, just come and take this, and just take the pressure out of us. I went, okay. And Hugh might help me here, Hugh. Who would the two strikers have been? Big John Burke?
Big John Burke and John McCormick. Roy Burke and McCormick.
The two of them were about 6 foot,
big guys,
2 6'4" animals. So, of course, the ball comes hurling there. Big Collins marking them. The three of them come hurling in. And my better judgment was, I'm not coming for this. And lo and behold, Big Colin gets stookied by the both of them. He was lying in the ground, broken nose, lost 2 teeth, cut ear, and he shouted at me, "I thought you were coming for it." And I went, "You kid me on, look at the state of you."
And I have to be honest with you, Big X come for a few corners, but he's amazingly, when I look at the career, 77 caps, Hugh, 3 Premier League titles, 5 Scottish Cups, 2 League Cups as a player, and then you get the European Cup Winners' Cup, the Super Cup, and I haven't even got on to the fact that as a manager, he won the First Division with Hibs. Then when he got to Rangers, he's got 2 League Cups, Scottish Cup, 3 League Cups, and then a League Cup with Birmingham City. What a roll of honour he's got.
He's got a tremendous CV. What people forget as well is that he was one. It's not like he was a great Scottish player, which is enough, of course. He was part of a defence that was the best defence in Europe at the time. Literally, was the best. That was the best central pairing in Europe. Him and Alec and Willie Miller. It's very difficult to explain that to the modern football fan, that we could have 2 of the best defenders in Europe. Defenders that would nullify Bayern Munich, that would reduce Real Madrid to 1 goal in a cup final. That the basis on everything that Fergie built that superb Aberdeen team was that almost that the great fullbacks, the great midfield. Don't get me wrong, but that kind of triumvirate, that little triangle in the middle of defence, and then going on. Thing that's underrated as well, Peter, as you say, his managerial career. I mean, his record at Rangers was astonishingly good in a time when it was Martin O'Neill at Celtic. It was a big push on there, and I was actually at Wembley, Peter, when they took on Arsenal and Arsene Wenger at Wembley in the League Cup final, and that was a real triumph of tactics. They really he outwitted Arsene Wenger that day, nullified the Arsenal midfield with Barry Ferguson. I don't know if you ever remember Barry Ferguson. Barry Ferguson in midfield, who's absolutely superb that day. So I think he's been underrated as a manager, but there's no way you can underrate him as a player, Peter. Just one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday to Alec. Just before we get into the meat and bones of what is undoubtedly something that gets people's temperature rising, everybody's got their own thoughts on it. And usually what we do on across all our channels is you can see people coming in and giving a fairly balanced view on last night's Celtic Livingston game. And then eventually, once we get about 20 minutes into the show, I think everybody, Roughie, has just basically got a baseball bat out and they're belting each other. So before we get into it, I'm going to say one really positive thing, and I think it's something that I just hope comes to fruition, and it has an impact on sport as well. Steven Naismith, when I read this morning the story that says that Edinburgh scientists have had a major breakthrough in possibly being able to reverse the damage of motor neuron disease, I immediately thought of Doddy Weir, but there are so many others along the way that might just be given that little modicum of hope. What a great piece of news for everybody to wake up to and read this morning.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually talk of the changing room this morning. And like you say, Doddy Weir's somebody who comes to mind straight away. But again, in the football side of it, seeing Fernando Rickson and what he brought to Scottish football and what he had to go through it's very fresh on the minds of, I think, everybody involved in football, especially in Scotland. So unbelievable news for going forward, and if it's the first steps, and they must be confident for them to come out and kind of say they've had a breakthrough. So it's fantastic news, and like I said, it will help so many people over the coming years, hopefully.
Yeah, not just sportsmen. I'm glad you mentioned Fernando there. It's just too late. It would have been great to actually see. I mean, I don't know how far the reversal process is, but it would have been great to see someone like Fernando just get back to full health. These things sometimes take time. I know for one thing, Hugh, I hope they actually are fast-tracked the way the vaccine for coronavirus has been, if they somehow manage to get something that human beings respond to.
Yeah, one of the huge problems with funding research and drug treatments for MND and associated conditions, Peter, has been there's not enough, there's not enough money in the game. If you talk to Doddy Weir, that's why Doddy Weir's great. One of his great contributions is to raise awareness of it, because Doddy would tell you quite openly that chemists and researchers this wasn't MND because of the relatively few people that it hits, wasn't at the top of the priority list the way that say cancer or heart disease or in this case the COVID vaccine would be. So it's great that Doddy and other associated charities have raised money to specifically target MND research, and it's fantastic that so quickly, there's, and it's not too much to say. It is a breakthrough. We're not overhyping it here. We're not saying it's gone. We're not saying everyone's cured. But this is a massive breakthrough. So wonderful news all round.
Yeah, okay. Livingston 2, Celtic 2. Livingston could have won it in the end when they were facing 10 men. Roughie, I mean, it's just a story that keeps on giving. Celtic last night, their defence, again, all over the place.
Yeah, you could see Neil Lennon's head, when the second goal went in, and it is a catalogue of what's been happening all year. At 2-1, I thought they were going to go on and get another one to make it 3-1, but then obviously, they get that goal, and the same old problems raise their ugly head again. And then obviously with Scott Brown getting sent off, that didn't help things much either. It's just a catalogue of things not going well. And I think you look at Neil Lennon and the dugout, I think he's resigned to it as well. He's just going to be a Neil Lennon. He's just going to dig in. He's not going to go anywhere. If anybody's going to move him, they'll have to push him. He's just batting down the hatches. He's just going to keep saying the same things, and trying to be positive, as most football people do, until whenever it happens, if it does happen. And that's what's going to happen for the rest of the season. Every game is going to be analysed, and he's going to give his tuppence worth. And I think we'll just have to keep talking about it because nothing's happened so far.
Yeah, no surprise, the manager himself says he's not going to walk away.
No, I won't walk away, no. Absolutely not. I put too much into this. It's my life. And a month ago, we won a treble. And I know I keep banging on about it, but there has to be a sense. We've lost 2 games in the league. Europe wasn't good enough. I'm ready for the League Cup. The human beings, they haven't played well this season for whatever reason. We can analyse it to death. Maybe no fans has had an adverse effect. I don't know. But they certainly haven't reached the levels that they were at last season by any stretch of the imagination.
Steven Naismith, Neil Lennon knows the drill. He's been there before, with the sack. The buck stops with the manager, but when eventually people start to look over the carnage at Celtic, there'll be a lot more, I think, to tell in the story, and a lot of people who'll be in the firing line for their unbelievable demise.
Yeah, I think that's been shown in the different banners and protests that have been made. But first, just going back onto the game last night, the game itself, all Neil Lennon needed was a result. It was never going to be a game that they wanted to play great football, attacking football. The players had been in isolation. You're playing on a plastic pitch and it's snowing. For him, when he goes 2-1 up, he's just thinking, brilliant, see the game out. But like the guy said, it's touching on the defensive side of it has been their Achilles heel for so long. But then for the manager and the club in a whole, from where they've been, and I think with them winning constantly in previous years, it's looked better than it probably has all round in the club. And from the start of this season onwards, every aspect of it has crumbled. Their performances, getting results, and also people now looking into recruitment and the board and everything like that. So I think there's a point in the season where they're behind Rangers that the club don't want to be seen to be conceding the title or conceding anything. But it's probably gone that far now that the fans would have a bit of a relief if there was a change and it was a bit more, right, this season's gone. We are going to start making changes now for the start of next season, with that be a new manager or moving some players on, and I think it's gone too far now, and it's an expectation now with everybody sitting waiting for the manager to move on.
Do you think they'll make that call, Hugh McDonald?
Well, I see, the simple answer to that, Peter, is I just don't know, because one of the things about the Celtic situation this year has been the throwing out of all certainty. Once we always talked about, particularly at Rangers and Celtic, it was a result-based business. Well, that hasn't impacted on any decisions, because the results have been consistently poor since November. We've talked about, manager. You can't. A manager, that loses games at Celtic and Rangers, well, they've just got to go. So I'll ask any supporter, just in their own head, how many times already did they think this season that Neil Lennon was going to get sacked? Was it after Ferencvaros? Probably not. Was it after the second of the two Spartak games? I would suggest probably yes. Was it when Ross County beat Celtic in the League Cup? Was it after the last Rangers game? Is it now after drawing twice to Livingston and to Hibs and Casey? I don't know, because what you used to base your thoughts on was the result and how the club looked. I think now, I don't think Neil Lennon will walk. And he's come out and said that pretty straight. So there's not going to be the impetus from him to walk. I think the board now are just in the middle of an incredible reappraisal. And it's not, I think, to finish on this point, I know I've went on a bit, but I think it was urgent. The decision whether or not to sack Neil Lennon was urgent in November, because then you could have reversed things. It was an urgent decision then. Once you made the decision to keep Neil Lennon, it becomes less urgent in a way, because you're not going to change the manager now in hopes of winning the league, Peter. You're not winning, you're not changing the manager in hopes of continuing a European run. So there might be a feeling on the board just to let our matters run its course. But I think that they'll have to have a real strong plan in before season ticket renewals.
Yeah, Neil Lennon himself doesn't know what the board's going to do.
Not that I'm, confident one way or the other. I am very conscientious about the work that I do. So if the club need to make a decision, then they need to make the decision. You're asking the wrong guy about my position. I'm fed up answering it, really. I mean, everyone seems to be interested in my job. So be it. You keep asking me about, am I going to be here? I will be until I'm told otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he knows, Roughie. He knows the score on this one. And the key issue here, I think, is that anybody that they get in will take a team just limping all the way to the summer. They surely can't make any signings in this window, based on the fact that I think a lot of people who support Celtic have lost confidence in the manager. He can't drag a result out of this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he'll probably be saying he can. That's what managers do. And he'll be saying to himself, okay, this has been a bad season. It's been a really bad season. Europe and everything else has gone along with it. And he will honestly be saying to himself, look, for the first 4 or whatever it is seasons that I've had have been fantastic and brought all these cups in. Does one bad season deserve me to get the sack? Every manager has a bad season. This is him, what I'm thinking. He'll be saying to himself, I can change this round. I can do this. I can do that. And he'll look at all the circumstances that's happened this year. We've already heard he thinks that the no fans at the games has been a hindrance. He was thinking of the players he's not had available has been a hindrance. He'll positively think that he is the man to turn this round. And it just depends on which way the board thinking the same way? Are the board giving him the benefit of this is one bad season out of 10? And well, you're right in what you're saying, the board will make the decision. I think the bonus part of it is that there are no fans at the game. Because if there was fans at the game, there'd be 50,000 people, not 50,000, but there'd be a large amount having a go at the board. And that's when you get a quick reaction. I think that it's a saving grace for him that there are no fans at the game. But honestly, Pierre, you know him and I know him. He will believe he's done a lot of things wrong, but not to the extent of what people are judging him on.
Yeah, there's a bigger story to tell on this, but what the big worry for everybody now is, why we've let Casper the Friendly Ghost on the show. That's the big problem. I mean, his light was fine. He looked okay, and then he started fidgeting with it, and it's just your worst nightmare.
That's there you
are. That's fantastic. That's it. He looks kind of a moody then now. There's more. I don't know about you, but there's more authority to you when you're slightly in the dark. It's rather more ominous, to be honest with you.
It's a story of my career, Peter, is being in the dark. Many a sports editor will testify to that.
Listen, I love the fact of your self-deprecation there, but you're on the old show. You've been with me and Roughie since the start, by the way, so stick with us, to be perfectly honest with you, even if your back goes. We know you've got the orthopaedic chair there. So, honestly, he's just held together by sticky tape. To be honest with you, lots of people, thousands of people giving us messages, some saying time's up, and some people saying, will they take into consideration, as Roughie mentioned there, what's gone before, what he's achieved, some of the results that he's achieved, and the answer emphatically in 2021, Steven Naismith, is no, because that's the way life is now. If it's not working, bullet the manager. I don't think anybody takes anything into consideration, and I am not. Neil Lennon can defend himself all he wants on his record, but I don't think boards, have any longevity now in mind with managers and it's going wrong.
Very rarely will a manager get in such a bad place with a squad and results that they turn it round. Probably the most like it, I'd potentially say, is Solskjaer at Man United. At the end of the last season, he picked up some results that potentially saved him, and now look at what's happened. But especially at the Old Firm, it's results, and especially going for 10 in a row. This builds everything up bigger than normal. So I can't see Neil Lennon being the manager next season. But again, on top of everything that we've all just said, is a manager going to come in and have this 3 months of negativity constantly at the club and be happy with that? I think a lot of managers speak about that first impression, first going into a club and what they can do. If they were going down that route, the club would definitely need to be happy to move some of the squad on, bring potentially some signings in for a new manager, and build a narrative that is, we are building for next season so that we hit the ground running from the off.
Yeah, and with that, and those sensible words that you say, we're on the 21st of January. When the transfer window closes, will Celtic fans say, well, listen, the league's gone, cut your losses here, sell Edouard, get as much money as you possibly can in, rather than letting him stay there for 6 months, Hugh McDonald, to get a lesser fee in the summer when he eventually goes?
Yeah, the Edouard thing now has become a matter of economics. It once was a matter of politics, and there was no way you could sell, in my view, the best player in Scotland, as you were trying to win 10 consecutive titles. So it became politically, impossible, which is perhaps contributed to the situation Celtic are in now. Now it becomes an economic decision. They've just got to sit down and say, well, Edouard's gone. He's gone. Does he go in January or does he go in the summer? What is our best options? There'll be people who will already be talking to at least Edouard's agent and maybe to the club saying, well, we think he's worth X, Y, and Z. And Celtic might be thinking, well, may as well hang on to him in the summer because it's always a better market in the summer. Maybe more clubs come in for him and the price can be raised. But that's all it is at the moment, Peter. It is just a matter of when and how much.
Yeah, and with that in mind, the other pain that the Celtic fans have to endure between now and the end of the season, apart from Rangers clearly with that huge gap, is the fact that how many more games are they going to witness, like last night, where they just cannot defend set pieces? Our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi has a look at the statistics.
As Celtic succumbed to another draw against Livingston last night, their weakness at set pieces was highlighted. How big a problem has it been for the defending champions this campaign? Well, Celtic's defence has been an issue all season, and 18 goals conceded is above their average by January. A massive 13 of those have come from set pieces, equating to 72%. The first points the Hoops dropped this campaign were against Kilmarnock in game week 2 after Nike Kabamba was fouled in the box and the penalty duly converted. Being clumsy in their own area was a theme that continued, with 5 penalties scored against them, including 2 in one game up in Aberdeen. 6 times has a goal been conceded from a free kick, despite the fact not a single one has been direct, which shows Celtic's inability to clear the danger or win second balls. Finally, 2 corners have breached the goal, including the decisive one in the most recent Old Firm. Neil Lennon's men have only conceded 5 times from open play, which is much more comparable to Rangers' total of 7 conceded, with only 1 coming from a set piece. And it shows in the league table as well. Celtic have conceded from a dead ball in half of their games played, winning only 4 out of the 11 they've done so in. Who knows how different the title race would be if Celtic had shored up their leaky defence from set pieces.
Okay, there's the evidence. Now let's look at the other flip on this coin, Roughie, which is quite simply Livingston had 7 changes, and fair play to them. Scored 2 goals and could have won it.
I thought they played well. They played as well as what they have in the last 7 or 8 games. You know, the results are there for everybody to see. Mm-hmm. They are a team on the up. I don't think any of us expected them to be top 6. But they proved everybody wrong, and they are a joy to watch. You either like the way they play or you don't, but they're scoring goals or winning games, and you can't ask for any more. You know, and I think getting into the cup game at the weekend, I think they'll feel confident that they can take that one as well. You know, so it's just a team loaded in.
About to say to you there, Roughie, David Martindale, the Livingston manager, made those changes. He'll probably bring in the big guns for the game against St Mirren. But over and above that, on last night's evidence, he thought they should have had a penalty and won that.
Delighted for the boys. Be a bit frustrated again because I think we could have took 3 points from the game. There's a Stonewall penalty late on in the second half. I don't know how it's been missed, if I'm honest, but I do get it. You do miss things, but I thought when Celtic went down to 10 men, we got a couple of very good counter attacks on them. We've probably got to do a bit better with a wee bit more composure.
Yeah, fair play to Livingston, David Martindale. Apologies for the person who thought it was a great idea to stand in front of the camera with a bobbly hat in the middle of the snow. But nevertheless, Livingston do have options, and what an achievement it would be, Steven Naismith of Livingston, still unbeaten. I thought it was great from their social media. Everybody loves a bit of a noise up, and Livingston released 10 in a row because they're undefeated in 10. So there is still a bit of humour left in it, although you wouldn't think so, but what an achievement it would be if we could get them to the League Cup final.
Yeah, I fully believe they'll get there. I think on the base of the 4